Welcome back to the Americanish Zone. Before we dive into today's escalating tensions, I want to ask you, how do you think trade wars impact the average American? Do you believe they push us forward, protect domestic industries, or do they ultimately raise prices and create instability? And how far should a government go to protect its economic interests, especially when it comes to critical technology? Today, we're tracking a story that could dramatically reshape global trade and technological supply chains. It's about a high-stakes standoff between two economic giants, and the potential fallout could be felt worldwide. The Trump administration is reportedly considering a plan that could dramatically curb a vast array of software-powered exports to China. This potential move, which could impact everything from laptops to jet engines, is being weighed as a retaliatory measure against Beijing's latest restrictions on rare earth exports. This comes directly after President Trump's recent threat to restrict critical software exports to China. While this plan is still under consideration and its full details are just beginning to emerge, its potential scope is massive. It would aim to restrict global shipments of any items that either contain US software or were produced using US software. The question of what exactly constitutes critical software in this context has been a point of much speculation. Since taking office, President Trump has implemented a series of tariffs against China. However, his approach to export restrictions has been less consistent. We've seen moments of strict new curbs, such as those initially imposed on NVIDIA's AI chips and chip design software, followed by their subsequent removal. Just last month, China expressed its strong opposition to a Trump administration rule that restricts US companies from shipping goods and technology to companies at least 50% owned by sanctioned Chinese firms. Currently, Chinese imports face US tariffs around 55%, a figure that could skyrocket to 155% if President Trump follows through on his threatened tariff hike. Despite these tough stances, Trump also appeared to soften his posture recently, posting on October 12th, "The USA wants to help China, not hurt it." However, just 2 days prior, on October 10th, Trump stated in a social media post that he would impose additional tariffs of 100% on China's US-bound shipments, along with new export controls on any and all critical software by November 1st, though without providing further details. While the sources indicate this measure may not move forward, the fact that such extensive controls are even being considered signals a dramatic escalation in the US-China showdown. This consideration is happening even as some within the US government reportedly favor a more conciliatory approach. Following the news, US stock indexes briefly extended losses, with the S&P 500 down 0.8% and the Nasdaq 1.3% lower, before pairing some of those losses. Both the White House and the Commerce Department, which oversees export controls, have declined to comment on these specific measures. A spokesperson for the Chinese embassy, while not commenting on the specific US proposals, stated China's opposition to the US imposing unilateral long-arm jurisdiction measures and vowed to take resolute measures to protect its legitimate rights and interests if the US proceeds down what it views as a wrong path. One source suggested that administration officials might announce the measure primarily to exert pressure on China, without necessarily implementing it fully. Discussions are also ongoing for narrower policy proposals. As one source highlighted, everything imaginable is made with US software, underscoring the incredibly broad scope of the proposed action. If fully implemented, such a move could significantly disrupt global trade with China, particularly for technology products, and could also come at a substantial cost to the US economy. The measure, if adopted, would echo the restrictions that the Biden administration imposed on Moscow after its 2022 invasion of Ukraine, which similarly restricted exports to Russia of items made globally using US technology or software. Trump's Truth Social post came just 3 weeks before a previously announced meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea, and significantly, a day day after China dramatically expanded its own export controls on rare earth elements. China currently dominates the market for these essential elements, which are critical for virtually all modern tech manufacturing. In his post, Trump called China's action, also effective November 1st, a moral disgrace that would impose controls on virtually every product they make. This is a high-stakes game of economic chess with global implications. The US is considering a powerful counter-move to China's control of rare earths, potentially disrupting technological supply chains world. What do you think about the Trump administration's proposed export curbs? Is this a necessary escalation to protect US interests, or could it lead to unintended consequences for the global economy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. That's all for today's Americanish Zone. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update.